Hello and welcome to the United Stand. How are you all doing? Got some cracking topics to talk about tonight. Mesut Ozil to Manchester United. If I told you that nearly 50% of Manchester United fans want him, even when it factors in that that'll probably be the end of Mata, what are your thoughts on that? And also, Fellaini offered a new contract. It's on the table according to reports. He's refusing it because he's on £80,000 a week. He wants £130,000 a week. Does a couple of headers against the crap side constitute, and a few good games in 4 years, constitute everyone jumping on the Fellaini bandwagon? We'll find out in a few minutes. But first of all, Rodney's back on the show. Rodney, how you doing, pal?
I'm not too bad. How are you, Mark? It's been a while.
Yeah, I'm good. And I think, international break is flying by already. Normally, I'd be dwelling on it really depressed, but there's lots going on. And I think tonight, we've got a good couple of points to fly into. So first of all, let's start off with it. Mesut Ozil is out of contract with Arsenal at the end of the season. He can speak to foreign clubs in January. Inter Milan interested. But the rumour is that he'll be coming to United for free. Very good relationship with Mourinho, especially at Real Madrid. 40% of United fans would want him. 60% wouldn't. What are your thoughts on Ozil to United? And can you see why he divides opinion?
I can see why. I'll start with why he divides opinion. I think in terms of the performances that he's put in an Arsenal shirt, fans will be unhappy because they say he only turns up for the little games against the little teams, and when it's a top 4, 5 or 6 side, a player of his quality does go missing. He doesn't influence the game as much as you would expect him to in that Arsenal team, and it is a very good Arsenal team, but let's be honest, it's an Arsenal team that has for a number of years lacked steel and a bit of heart. So Arsenal fans will be kind of like saying, oh, he's not doing enough. United fans will be saying, oh, we don't want him. And I think people need to go back a little bit and reflect. When he was on his way out of Madrid, we were heavily linked with him. I think what stopped us from purchasing him at the time was the price tag. I think it was around about 40 to 45 million. And I think in today's market, someone of his quality, that's what you would expect to pay. So it may have been ahead of the time in terms of his valuation, but you would still expect someone who's played more than 50 games for their national team to be valued around about that. I mean, Arsenal paid that and more probably around about that for a striker who, as you mentioned so many times, is not even a good Jermaine Defoe.
Yeah.
So
it's I'm just looking at some of the comments. Yeah. We're talking about Ozil at the moment. Hold off with your Fellaini because everyone's going mad about Fellaini. But in relation to Ozil, what I would add in as well, I mean, I've got my thoughts, but we'll delve into Rodney's a little bit more. I mean, he'll be 29 next June, so he'll be 29 before he kicks a ball for United if he comes. If I mention the names Angel Gomez, Andres Pereira, Mkhitaryan, Mata, they're all number 10s. So what does Ozil bring that they don't? I mean, he's not blessed with pace. He's just another... No. I mean, let's be honest, there's not a lot of difference. I mean, I'm fully aware and I can just about accept, although I would argue it, that maybe Ozil on paper is better than Mata and Mkhitaryan, but not massively better. And every time I've watched Ozil play United, well, I didn't even know he was there. He disappears in the big games. Spineless bottler, I think, I don't know. I can understand. I'm quite surprised that 40% of United fans would take him when you look at the fact that we've got 4 players who can play that role already. And he's not. He doesn't offer anything different. He might just be slightly better, but he's not really any different to Mata or Mkhitaryan in my book.
I think in terms of Mata's defence, I would say Mata has been more of a goal-scoring threat against teams when we've needed someone to score goals other than our main striker. I wouldn't necessarily say that has been Ozil's forte at Arsenal, but it isn't to say that he wouldn't be able to fulfil that role or kind of increase his goal tally if he were to join. I like Ozil. That may, split opinion, and some may, we don't like him at all because he's not good enough. But I think in the conversations that you've had since the game on Saturday, and I was there, Mkhitaryan isn't taking his chances.
Yeah.
We've already talked about Zlatan coming back and him wearing the number 10. If Ozil is prepared to wait out his time and rejoin Mourinho, that says a lot, because Arsenal will throw bucket loads of money at him. They will, because they won't want him to leave. And they're the kind of club that don't want their good players to leave. And Arsenal fans need to recognise that. So if he wants to join Mourinho, it must mean that he wants to win things. Like many of the other Arsenal players that move on because they want to win things. So we can't necessarily, just look at him and say, oh, he hasn't done it for Arsenal. There's a bucket load of players that haven't done it for Arsenal, where they should have gone on and won silverware and they haven't. So in terms of Manchester United, I think the one player that is under threat if Ozil does join, it isn't Mata, it's Mkhitaryan. Because I think Mourinho is the one man or manager who would actually get the best out of him. The Ozil with Mourinho would be the Ozil that Germany have, and that Ozil is a world beaten player in a team surrounded around him in terms of world class players, quick players who want to go on and win things. Now he spent, I think, too long at Arsenal, not as long as Theo Walcott, but too long playing in a team where he hasn't won the league. And I think he wants to move on to win the league. And from my point, I would welcome him. It's just depend on who makes way for him when he comes, or if he comes.
Another good point is, Gunshi says, I honestly don't think his heart has been at Arsenal. Whose heart is at Arsenal? It's sort of part of the contract. You leave your heart and your spine behind. It's not about passion there. But if we did get Ozil, I think that would probably be curtains on Griezmann, who I think is absolutely essential. So I don't want Ozil to come to Manchester United because I'd much prefer Griezmann. The positives of Ozil: wand of a left foot, very good on the assists from corners and things like that, but disappears in games too much. I don't think he's the answer to the number 10. I know Rodney does. I don't. For me, he's just not. I don't want him anywhere near Manchester United. And the thing is, I do sort of tread carefully because I know I said the same about Matich, and I know I'm probably creating another little clip for a year's time when Ozil's banging in loads of assists and we're top of the league. But I don't want Ozil at United. I think there are better younger players coming through. I don't think there's a massive improvement on someone like Mata, and I think Griezmann's the man to come in and do that. So not for me with Ozil, but I do agree that he obviously does divide opinion, and it's good that we've got Rodney with one side and me with the other. But it's a no for me, but it's a yes from Rodney. Let's talk about the big man, Marouane Fellaini. He's currently on £80,000 a year. He's
a year or a week.
A week, sorry, it should be a year.
Gosh.
It should be a year. His contract's up at the end of the season, much like Mesut Ozil. Maybe we could do a swap. I'd do that. Anyway, he wants 130. Manchester United have apparently offered him a new contract, which in itself I think is a mistake. But £130,000 a week. Now I'll tell you again, most Manchester United fans have jumped on that bandwagon like the little bloody bandwagon followers they are. No, I'm only joking. And they've. Most of them think he's worth it and give him another contract. He's 30 this year. Yeah.
I mean, I, like you, for a long time was against Fellaini. I didn't think he should be in the squad. I think I still curse David Moyes' name every time I kind of see him in the United shirt. But I have to say, since the beginning of the season, he has put in steady performances. And I would say he was man of the match against Palace. He tracked back, he tackled, he won the balls where he needed to, distributed when he needed to, scored 2 goals. And I think he's thinking he deserves a pay rise. And I think also, from his point of view, he knows that when he leaves Manchester United, it's going to go downhill. He's not going to go on to another top 5 club. If he leaves Manchester United, if he stays in the Premier League, where will he go? In all honesty, where will he go to? Palace? He wouldn't go there. He'll look to go to a Turkish club, if anything, so he can get a good payday. So he wants to kind of enjoy the financial side of being at Manchester United. And to be honest, we've got players. I mean, when you look at him and the goals that he scored, and ask the question, how much is Lingard getting paid?
Yeah.
You kind of like, you've got 2 players that we kind of say that they're not good enough. They're not part of Manchester United. They're squad players. But both have contributed in their own unique way. But at the same time, even now I'm thinking I can't really argue against Fellaini asking for that little bit extra. He's not asking for double his wages. He's asking for a little bit more. And if they offer him another 2 years on his contract, and he sees out his time at Manchester United, he will give the steady performances that he does, but we don't expect him to be in the middle of the park. We don't expect him to be the ball-winning midfielder. He will be a squad player, and I think he acknowledges that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at some of the comments. Gungshi says we should offer him that much to leave. Fion says he's a legend. Take the money, Fellaini, says Samuel R. He sure is worth it, says Snaps. If he can't get 130, he must leave, says Omar Lewis. And what's wrong with Man United fans wanting Fellaini, says Fashion 7. Makes me so mad. Don't you remember the Fellaini of the last 4 years? And Andrew Kay says Fellaini can do a job as a super sub, but don't need to pay over the odds for him. He needs to be realistic with his age and his ability. I mean, there's 2 things for me. One, I think Fellaini is a clown because I think if he's been offered a new contract, he should just sign it. The arrogance of asking for 130 grand. I mean, you've got to pat him on the back. I mean,
yeah.
Where the cheek of it, I don't see what he's done to deserve a massive increase in his wage. I know he's done well this season, but I do agree with that comment about where for every good thing he's done, I'll give you 3 bad things. He's not been good over the last 4 years.
No.
For me,
but I'll tell you what I will say that to. I'll tell you what I would say. I did look at the stats, the goal stats between him and Herrera, and Herrera joined in the January. He joined in September. And I think Herrera had a flying start. I think he scored about 6 or 7 goals. And since then, his goal tally has diminished. His shots on targets have diminished. His percentages in terms of attacking threat have diminished. Whereas with Fellaini, he joined, it was terrible. His stats were terrible. I don't think he scored anything. But I think since Saturday, he has now overtaken Herrera in the number of goals that he scored whilst being at United.
I mean, I spoke about it on Saturday when the team news came out. I initially said I was disappointed that Herrera wasn't playing with Matich because they played really well against Moscow. But then I said, actually, I totally agree with Fellaini playing because Crystal Palace were always going to park the bus, and it was a bit like when we played Everton. Matic will sit, Fellaini will run into the box, and one of the centre-backs will move into the midfield, and then Fellaini becomes another attacking option, and that's why he scored 2 goals. For me, what I don't understand is where does the Fellaini sort of... I mean, Fellaini is a cult with an L, not an N.
Yeah.
He's a cult hero, and where does it end with United fans? Because I've always been very consistent. I'd sell him tomorrow for a packet of Golden Wonder. I really would. I think the experiment's 4 years, long overdue. Let's move on. Let's evolve, because he is very limited in what he does. He can't run. He can't run with the ball. He can't pass. He's slow. But what he does do is he does give you that sort of, like Steven Gerrard said, he's a nightmare to play against because he's, big and his arms and everything like that. So we've never played him, for me, Rodney, in his best position. Now, I think what we saw against Crystal Palace was Fellaini in his best position, which is in the opposition's box, which is where he used to play for Everton. He used to play as a number 10. And in the 4 years he's been at United, and I don't even, people say you hate Fellaini. I don't like him as a footballer. I've got to be honest. I don't like his style. I don't like Peter Crouch. I didn't like Niall Quinn. I don't like that sort of footballer. It's not just aimed at Fellaini. I don't like that sort of footballer. But it's not his fault that the last 4 years we've had 3 managers who've all played him as a midfielder, a centre midfielder, which he's just not. He was never that at Everton. We didn't pay £27 million for him as a midfielder because he didn't play there. He was a number 10. And we all know he's probably got the best chest control in football. So for me, the sad thing about Fellaini is that everyone falls into this trap about him being, he's brilliant. And because he plays as a midfielder, they think he's brilliant as a midfielder. He's not. He's a bang average midfielder. He's a very effective number 10 in the opposition's box, and that's where he always gets his plaudits. He doesn't get plaudits for spraying the ball around or running fast. His strength is as a number 10, and I don't understand why we've never really played him there.
I mean, I think to play him in the position that he played on Saturday, you need someone who's going to cross the ball consistently and miss out the first defender. And it's taken for the return of Ashley Young playing out of position, cutting back and crossing the ball in on his right-hand side for us to see some kind of steady and effective crossing and as a goal threat. And I think for him, he needs someone like that to do that because we weren't doing that before. So I think in terms of his effectiveness, I don't think the team had players in wider positions that were effective enough to help his game. I agree with you. He's not a central midfielder. He's not able to kind of push the game forward and cause a problem, in the midfield as you would expect some midfielders to. But I have to say, from what I saw of him on Saturday against a Crystal Palace team that wanted to park the bus, he did everything that you would expect a midfielder to do. He tracked back, he tackled, he blocked, and he scored goals. And the fans around me, they're the same as you, Mark, and I. They never liked him at United, but they're now singing his name, and everyone's saying we've got to bite the bullet and swallow it because we've given him stick for nearly 3 years.
I do disagree with that, and I am a very stubborn person, as people will know, but I do disagree with that. I think you're all setting yourself up for a big fall with Fellaini, because he's not. Look, I'm not being arrogant saying I'm right. He's not. He's nearly 30. He's not changing what he's done for his last football career. He's not suddenly turned into a good footballer. He is Marouane Fellaini, and he's the Marouane Fellaini he's always been. I think he's playing out of his skin at the moment, but I think this is where reality bites. Look at the opposition. He will be absolutely destroyed by Spurs, Liverpool, Chelsea, City, if he's in a midfield too. He might play. I would play him against Liverpool, by the way, but it's got to be in a midfield 3. He cannot be in a midfield 2 with Matich against Liverpool. They will cut right through him. He's too slow. He's got to be part of a midfield 3. But for me, Fellaini's the same as he's always been. He's a threat in the box. He's got a lot of effort. But for me, I wouldn't give him a new contract. I think the Fellaini era needs to end. It's not really the way United should play anyway. And he's still the same Fellaini he's always been. And he will let you down. I'm sorry to say. But you give him a new contract anyway.
I mean, it's not in the sense that I would give him. I definitely wouldn't give him a new contract, but I know that the club will give him a new contract.
Yeah, they will. Yeah,
they will. I'm with you. I wouldn't give him one, but I can understand why.
I think this season, give him this season, and then send him on his way with all the best wishes, because he's been here for he's been here a long time. It's been
there longer than some.
Yeah. So I think, especially being 30 as well, I would kick him off, because what if we give him a 4-year contract? I mean, Mourinho's just going to keep using him, and whatever. I love Mourinho. I won't have a bad word said against Mourinho, but I'd love Fellaini to go, because then we haven't got that big hoofball option anymore, and we might. I much prefer Herrera. It's the way I want United to play. Mr. Basinga says Fellaini is a liability in most matches, not the saviour of United for a few games, and then ask for money. He has been a drain on our squad for most of the time at my club. It's all about opinion. And we've had a contribution from Derian Jones. There is a place in this team for Fellaini, but not starting 11. He's an impact player if played up front as a sub in a 1-1 scenario. I think that is a fantastic comment, Derian, and not just because you've contributed, but I think that is pretty much how I would want to see Fellaini used, if I'm totally honest with you. We've had a bit of injury boost. I couldn't believe this one, Rodney, because it was like, we're not playing Chelsea till November, and it was like Manchester United get huge injury boost for the Chelsea game, and I was like, oh no, is it to do with Pogba? But it's actually to do with Murata. He's done his hamstring. He will not be back for 6 weeks, which means he's going to have to push it to get back to play United, which, you know what, it's a bit of luck for us, because I think City have had a bit of luck with the Mane red card and Mike Dean at Bournemouth and Murata going off in the first half. So if that levels itself out, I don't wish injury on anybody, but if he's injured, isn't he? And that is a bonus for United with Murata. Yeah,
I think, I mean, it is a bonus, but I don't necessarily trust news that comes out of Chelsea. They would actually be well aware of the time frame for our game, and they put that out there. And I wouldn't be surprised if he's not on the bench or even starting. I wouldn't be surprised.
Just on that point, let's talk about. Let's have a look at something else. I've got something to tell you all, but there was something I wanted to say about it. Oh yeah, let's give him a bit of a due, because I did get it wrong on him. As I'll always argue, I got it wrong rightly, and a lot of people got it wrong because he wasn't that player at Chelsea last year. And it's great to see how Kante is now crap without him. But Matich says he's only going to get better at United, Rodney. He says he's only playing at about 80%. He's got another 20%. And I think what he's basically getting at is what I've said there. He's had a year at Chelsea where his role was very restricted. And I think he's getting into a bit of a groove, but it's a good groove already.
Yeah, I mean, from what I saw of him on Saturday, he was absolutely brilliant. he played a pass to Lukaku, which if he had have taken it, was worth £1 million just alone, because it literally cut the Palace defence in half. And I think that, and it's in those moments when if you ever get the chance to see that pass again, Lukaku's control lets him down, and he really should have scored. And I mean, if that was a Ronaldo, that's in the back of the net. Any other striker that you think that's in the back of the net, the pass was sublime. And I'm not thinking we bought him as a holding midfielder, and his intelligence on the ball, his movement, knowing when to drop off, knowing when to support the back two, knowing when to push forward with the ball. You know, he simply did it with ease and was a constant talker throughout the whole game. I'm so glad. I don't even know what. I mean, I think Chelsea were smoking crack when they sold him to us.
My dad's a Chelsea fan. Funnily enough, he emailed me today because we sort of emailed. He lives up north, and we sort of exchanged emails sort of at the start of the week. And I'd said to him, "Look, Chelsea. I know Murata and Bakayoko are good players, but you've weakened yourself letting Costa go and Matich." And he said, "I agree. Costa's the biggest cheat ever, but letting Matich go was suicide. It was ridiculous to do it because." He's absolutely bang in his prime. Professor FC says automatic. I like it, automatic. But I've got a great question for everybody. I'll hold it back because I want to see them coming up. But I want to just stay on Matic for a minute because for me, I said it at the weekend, Matic is like Carrick when Carrick was in his prime a couple of years ago and the decade before that. He is. Everyone's noticing it, which is great, and it doesn't surprise me that United stand viewers notice it because I think you've got a real good grasp of football. Because he's not necessarily obviously man of the match, but he's always a contender for man of the match because he does what Carrick used to do. It's what he's doing off the ball. He's running the midfield, he's dictating the back four, he's taking the ball off the back four, he can switch passes 30, 40 yards, 5 yards, and he can also dribble a bit as well, which Carrick could do as well. I think that was always our concern probably 3 years ago when Carrick was coming towards the end. How do you replace Carrick? Well, Matic is probably the closest thing I've seen to Carrick, and I think he does exactly what Carrick used to do for United.
Yeah, I can't say enough about what Matic did in the game. He really did run the show, and what's also nice to see as well, the fact that we have someone who's a natural left-footed player who always, for me, when I played football, it was always harder to mark the guys that had a left foot. Because they'd show you one way and they'd go the other. And it was just even the slightest hip movement would throw you off balance. And with him, he doesn't even have to move. Sometimes he just stands and he'll look one way and he'll just chip it 5 yards the other way. Or, again, if anyone can see the pass to Lukaku, if that was in a Champions League game, we'd be talking about it for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. The pass in itself was fantastic. I don't think any back four would have been able to stop that. It was great.
Tyron Williams says Nemanja Matic isn't the quickest, but his positional play ensures that isn't the problem. Very Carrick-esque. And very good comment here from George Giovanni going back to Fellaini. He says Fellaini's had a handful of games, sure. If he keeps it up until Chelsea in 5 games' time when we've got Liverpool, Spurs to play, give him a new contract. What a good comment that is because, I don't want him to have a new contract. A lot of you do. I tell you what, let's meet in the middle and say, if he's still playing this well when we've played Liverpool, Spurs and Chelsea, give him a new contract. And I think that's spot on. I do, because I'll guarantee you he won't. But, that's maybe you're proving me wrong. It's the season for it. What was I going to ask next? Let's have a look. Let's take a couple more comments on Matic. Few people on about Rojo being back. Theon Curtin says Matic is getting on a bit, but I will savour every moment of him at United. I think he's 29, isn't he? So he's got about 3-4 years. That's good. That's good. And Matic is gold. Fellaini is crap. Says hey Alan. You start a sentence sometimes and you don't realise where it's going. Matic the brick wall says playlist account. What I want to do. Let's talk about. Let's stay in the midfield. We've done Fellaini, we've done Matic. Let's talk about Paul Pogba. I predict that Paul Pogba definitely is a long-term injury now. Now, people will say, Mark, you're just copying what Mourinho said the other day. That's not news. But Mourinho also said in that same interview, Phil Jones is out. And Phil Jones played 24 hours later. So I did think at the time there was potential that we're playing a bit of a game with Liverpool here, that Pogba is going to be back for Liverpool, but we're going to say he's a long-term injury, which Mourinho is totally capable of doing. But he's in Miami messing around with the same blonde he was messing around with in the summer. And there's just no way for me, Rodney, if he's in Miami, that he's anywhere near fit for the Liverpool game. Because if he was going to be fit for Liverpool, he'd be in Manchester, he'd be training, he'd be getting match fit for a game that's a week on Saturday. You wouldn't be in Miami.
Yeah, I mean, I think I think the injury is worse than they've indicated initially. And I mean, of all the places to go and, do your rehab or recover without any kind of a distraction is America or Miami. He's our stellar player. He needs to focus on the game and, recover in time for the big games. Now, unless it is a smokescreen and he's over in Miami and it's to give the Liverpool fans and players the indication that he's not going to be ready, then I think it's a masterstroke, but I don't think it is. I think he is injured. But I would really hope that he comes back or he goes somewhere else and he's quite low-key. And as for the blonde, no comments.
Well, Andy Pandy's got a comment. He said, being with a blonde is the best rehab. Well, he's going to be messing around with his hamstring a bit.
Not for his hamstring.
It's not good for his hamstring. James Harrop says early December. Mike Rollins says December. I thought Pogba would be back early November, says Gungshi. Pratik says, why is Pogba dancing if he's injured? That was 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago he's doing videos of him dancing. Look, it's not our job to guess what's going on with his rehab.
He must be his physio.
Yeah.
Well, that worked out.
Yeah, that might work out. But yeah, we've done very well without Pogba, and Fellaini's been a part of that. I agree. But I do think that over the next 4 league games, City have got it easy. We've got Liverpool away, Spurs at home, Huddersfield away, Chelsea away. 3 tough games there, and I don't think we can afford to lose ground on City. So I think we've got to look to win them all, which is a big ask in any season. That's a big ask, but I think that's the bar City are going to set. We can go to Liverpool and win, but I wonder about how we're going to approach it. For me, Rodney, it's got to be a midfield 3, and then the front 3. It can't be Mata and Mkhitaryan. The midfield 3 is going to have to battle. So for me, it's got to be Fellaini, Herrera, and Matich. And the front 3 have got to be pace on the break, because that's how you beat Liverpool. But I'm not convinced. I think Mourinho will go 3 in the middle. I think the left and the right-sided player will be defensive players like Lingard and Rashford. And I think up front it'll be Lukaku on his own. I've just got a funny feeling Mourinho's going to go and park the bus and be happy with a point.
I think if he does park the bus, he'll want to counter-attack Liverpool. Liverpool always expect teams to come at them, and they're very good on the counter-attack, but their defence is poor. It doesn't matter who they have in defence. I think they could have a brick wall in defence. They couldn't stop the goals going in. So I think for Mourinho, he will set out his stall to stifle the play in midfield, particularly Coutinho and I can't think of his name now. He was at Chelsea with him before he sold him, and he was at Roma. Anyway,
Salah.
Salah, yeah, and because for me they're the 2 main threats. Mane will have his usual game, but Coutinho and Salah will cause real problems. It'll be very important for us not to give away free kicks around the box. If we're going to give away free kicks, do them on the halfway line, not 35 yards from goal, because we know what happens when you do that. He'll step up and he'll just bend it in from whatever angle. So I'm confident of getting a good result at Liverpool. I really am. I think we've got the firepower to mix it up with them. Whether it be Mkhitaryan, who everyone's kind of talked about not kind of taking his chance, and I think he might start again. But then if he doesn't do well, then you've got Lingard to come off the bench. You've got Martial to come off the bench. And I still think Mata will be an important player in a game against Liverpool. So we've got plenty of options. And I haven't even mentioned Lukaku. I think Lukaku on his own. I think if Lukaku turns up and has one of his, flat track bully games, and we treat Liverpool like one of those little teams, he could get 2 good goals or a hat trick. Because I don't rate their back 4 at all. So
I mean, I personally think, talking about parking the bus, I think the way United play at the moment and the way Liverpool are playing at the moment, if we play the way we've been playing, we can more or less guarantee we're going to score 2 goals there. So Liverpool are going to have to score 3 to beat us if we approach it in the right way. But we've definitely got the players to do it, and I think we've got. I think out of Liverpool away, Spurs at home, and Chelsea away, Liverpool's the one to definitely win. I'm not saying we are going to win it, but I think we won't know until 11:30 a week on Saturday whether we've got a good chance or not, because it will depend on the team that Mourinho picks. But I can pick a team that could go and win there. Well, no, you can't guarantee it, but I'd be confident, and that would be. I'd just do it for once. I would play Rashford on the right, Martial on the left, Lukaku up front, midfield 3 of Herrera, Fellaini, and Matich. A good strong back 4. Play deep, but use those players on the break, and I think Liverpool would just fall apart if we were disciplined and we fed those attackers with decent ball on the break. And Liverpool would just not be able to deal with it. Yeah. But that brings me to my next topic, and I want everyone to comment on this. Who is the best finisher at Manchester United? Because I had a little bit of an argument with somebody today, and about 2 particular players. Lukaku, I said it was Martial, and somebody came back and said it was Lukaku, and I laughed, and they got very angry. I can't believe people think Lukaku's a better finisher than Martial, but maybe I'm delusional. Who's the best finisher at Manchester United then for you, Rodney? Or do you need a little bit more time?
No, I mean, watching the game on Saturday, I would say, for me, Martial, he just, when he's in front of goal, once he has that chance, he's very, very cool. You've only got to look at the way he takes penalties to see that this is a guy that doesn't matter who's in goal, he will score. But Lukaku still needs 1 or 2 chances, and when he should score, he doesn't. And then he gets a chance which you think he shouldn't score, then he scores. So I think, for me, Martial is a better finisher. No questions for me.
Lukaku's not in it for me. I mean, Lukaku's great. I love Lukaku, but I don't think his finishing is up to the standard of someone like Martial. I totally agree, and I think that's reflected in the penalty that Lukaku missed. And I remember doing the watch along, and I said, I think Mata was on the pitch, and I was like, why is Mata not taking it? And it really is because Lukaku is fantastic. I wouldn't swap him for anybody, but technique-wise in his finishing, it's not smooth. It's like Rodney says, the chances he should score, he misses, and the ones he shouldn't, he scores, because he's not a natural finisher. But Martial it's like, I tried to compare it to, he's just so smooth. He's smooth, and that's why he's taking the penalties, and that's why when he took the penalty at the weekend doing the watch along, I said, there's no doubts this is going to go in. Because he won't necessarily pick his spot before, he'll just do the keeper with his eyes, because he's smooth. And he won't score all his chances. He has missed one-on-ones, but he is such a smooth striker, and we've seen that. Whereas Lukaku, I think already you could probably do a little compilation, if he wasn't doing so well, of bad misses. I remember one against Real Madrid, the Stoke one. He has missed a few chances this year, which totally irrelevant. It doesn't matter because he's scoring loads of goals. But we're talking about who the best finisher is. It definitely is Martial. I mean, Rashford is. I think Rashford's probably better than Lukaku, but he still needs a bit of work.
Yeah, I think Rashford is definitely making progress and developing into a better finisher. I mean, his turn and quick thinking on Saturday was, someone who's actually looking at his own game and developing in a way that you'd like to see. But if you were matching up all 3 in terms of finishing, I would say what Martial has is a little bit of mystery, where if he's doing a one-on-one, the keeper has no idea which way this player is going. Whereas Lukaku, he'll show you everything. Like if you were to go shopping in the West End and you see the store with the big glass windows, there's no disguising what's in there. You can see it all. And with Lukaku, he shows you everything, and you think, well, I know where you're going and I'll get to it. Whereas Martial, right until the last minute, you may think, oh, he's going to go this way, then he goes the other way. And that's why I like him as a striker. His coolness in his finishing, and he actually makes the keeper think twice before he moves, which is really, really good.
Sorry, Rodney, I was just starting laughing there because I do read the live comments while you're live. And I'm reading down, and it's like Martial by 4th and by far by Mike Rollins. Andrew Thompson says Lukaku is very composed. It's all about opinion. Byron Play says I'm late, but the vast majority are Martial, with a few Matters in there. Yeah, Mata has got good technique.
He is a very good finisher, Mata. Not to discount him, but we talked about strikers, didn't we?
Really? Yeah, and Martial is better. But there was a very funny comment. I bet I've lost it now. Yeah. Because I wouldn't want to. I can read it, but I wouldn't want to get it wrong. It was from Mr. Harrop, if I can find it. Here we go. He says Luke Shaw finishes breakfast, lunch, and dinner the best. It made me laugh, but I like Luke Shaw, and I will under no circumstances have it insinuated that he's fat. But it did make me laugh.
Is he on the Anderson diet?
But you're at the game at the weekend, Rodney. On a serious point, Martial has the same stats as Kevin De Bruyne, who is probably one of the first names on Pep Guardiola's team sheet. I said it a few weeks ago that Martial would start. He'd start games for pretty much all of the top four. He'd definitely start for teams like Arsenal and Liverpool. He'd definitely start for Spurs because they haven't really got any width. I think Chelsea, he probably would start as well. And City, I think he would start at City because they play Sterling and he's better than him. So how long, if ever, is it going to be before Anthony Martial starts playing games? And I ask that because we all love Martial, and I'm sure at the ground that they love him as well.
Well, they sing his name.
Yeah, and I just... What frustrates me about Mourinho is after the game on Saturday, he's like right up Fellaini's bottom again. Oh, he's turned it around. It's fantastic. You very rarely hear him say anything positive about Martial. I don't understand why that is. Maybe it's his particular man management of that personality. But what does resonate with me is that he is without doubt our best player at the moment. He's certainly our best flair player. I love Marcus Rashford. I think he's going to be a great talent. But I'll be blunt, Martial is better. How and when are we going to start seeing him play games? Or do you think he just never will? He'll always be an impact player.
I mean, all right, let me get this clear. In terms of his age, what is he, 21?
22 in December.
22. And I think when you talk about Martial, and I think we have to talk about Mourinho's style of management with it as well, is that I think he did a similar thing with Hazard at Chelsea. He did a similar thing with Benzema at Real Madrid, because when Benzema went to Real Madrid, Higuain was the #1 striker. And I remember a quote, I think he said something, he turned a pussycat into a tiger. And I think Martial is a very shy person. And I think Mourinho is the kind of person he wants his men to be men. I think that's what he wants. And in terms of Martial's ability, there is no doubt he's our most gifted player at Old Trafford. The fans acknowledge it. I think he acknowledges that the fans acknowledge that he's really good. And in terms of him, when he'll start a game, I don't think he'll start a game this side of Christmas. I think Mourinho will save him for the latter part of the season. I think he'll get games in the Champions League. He'll start in those games. But in terms of the tough run up to Christmas, I think he'll still come off the bench. I think Mourinho is looking at the long term. I think he's going to rotate the squad in a particular way where those like Rashford may start to spend more time on the bench after Christmas, and it may be Martial that starts games. But right now, whenever he comes off the bench, there's almost a moment of magic. I mean, what he did to Townsend in the short period of time, I think Townsend would have literally jogged off the pitch and had a shower and shave and left. But for me, he's the most gifted player we have, but I kind of understand why Mourinho isn't using him all the time, because if he has a 90-minute game and it doesn't go for him in the first 60 minutes, he's the kind of player that will keep looking over at the bench thinking, when am I going to get subbed off?
Yeah.
And you don't want
that. Daniel Shaw says, Martial reminds me of a young Thierry Henry, but better. Having seen Henry in his early 20s, you're right. Obviously, Henry went on to be world class, but around that age, he wasn't as good as Martial is, and there are similarities, you're right. I wouldn't swap Martial for Mbappe, and that's total straight-faced honesty. I think he's what I like about Martial this year, and I have said it a few times, so I apologise, Last year, he reminded me a bit of Mkhitaryan. He was trying to make it happen every time he got the ball. And Mourinho doesn't like 50-50. He doesn't like you getting it right 50% of the time and 50% of the time you lose the ball. And that's clearly been drilled into him. What I like about him this year is if it's on, he'll do something special. If it's not on, he'll just play a simple pass, move, have it back. His retention of the ball, I'd love to know the stats of that. I don't think it's even measured, even though it's one of the most important stats out there, is how he retains the ball. How many times he loses the ball, and he very rarely loses the ball now, whereas I think last year he was losing the ball a lot, and that frustrated Mourinho. And it's one of the biggest things that Mourinho, if you've studied his career, is big on, is ball retention, because if you've got the ball, you've got the ball. And Mourinho, Martial this season is brilliant at it. You watch him if he comes on in the next few games or he starts, when he gets the ball, if it's on to run at someone, he'll do it. If it's not, he won't force it. He'll just give it to somebody else and move into a better position. And that is the big thing about Martial this year. He's ultra efficient. Whether it's assists, goals, or his ball retention, he's ultra efficient. And that is a massive plus. And, you know, I can't complain about it. What Mourinho's doing with him at the moment is fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, it's the in-game management that players need to have. That's what it is. But deciding when to give and go or when to try something flash, and you're right. And I think because of it, he's not having to track back as much because he's not losing it.
Yeah. We've got over 1,500 watching, which is fantastic. Remember, we're live every night at 8 o'clock during the international break, so join us. We've got some cracking shows coming up over the next few days. I'm not going to tell you what they're about because I want you to visit the United Stand, so make sure you click that subscribe hologram in the bottom right hand corner and turn your notifications on by clicking the bell. Also drop a like on the video. We have Rodney on a Tuesday. He's not been on for a while, but I know a lot of you like Rodney, so make sure you like it and subscribe if you're new, and don't miss some of the shows we've got this week. Got some real crackers that they're out of the box shows. Like, they're really good, but we'd never normally do them in the summer because it's transfer centric, or when the games are on you just don't have time to do it. So I'm really excited about those, so get involved. But Mr. Harrop, with his Luke Shaw joke, gets another comment here, and he says Mkhitaryan was dreadful against Crystal Palace. Yep. I've been called a Mkhitaryan hater, which is totally untrue because I loved him at Dortmund and I think he's got the potential. I just don't feel he's grabbing the opportunity, Rodney. And, you know, I can't say Fellaini's going to get found out against better teams, but he is doing well against the lesser teams. If Mkhitaryan's not doing well against the lesser teams, how is he going to raise it against the better teams?
Yeah, I mean, he spent far too much time away from Lukaku against Palace. The space between him and Lukaku was too big, considering a team that was going to park the bus. When he had the ball, his distribution wasn't great, and his first touch for me isn't great either. He has the, you know, if I were to say, if you think of Eden Hazard when he gets the ball, or you think of any other great number 10, or even think of Paul Gascoigne, when he received the ball, the first thing he would do is he would be aware of the defenders around him. And his hand would come up and he'd know, right, if you're going to try and tackle me, you're going to have to foul me. Mkhitaryan has the running style of Forrest Gump. He gets the ball and he starts running as if there's no one else on the pitch. And then when he gets tackled, it's almost like, oh, where did you come from? And I'm like thinking, how can you be a number 10 and be so unaware of the individuals around you? You wouldn't have any other player receive the ball in that position and not expect one to be tackled, but have the awareness to say, I'm going to protect the ball so that my teammates can get close to support me. And time after time, he didn't do that. And when his number came up for him to be subbed off, I have to say, the bulk of the individuals near me, we were happy because we didn't want Rashford to come off. We didn't want Mata to come off because they'd been doing really well. And if Mata had come off, it would have been another game where he didn't finish. And I thought, no, Mkhitaryan has not showed up against this team. And it was only Crystal Palace. As we say, was Fellaini did. So at the very beginning, when I said Fellaini did everything that you could possibly ask of him, Mkhitaryan did not. And that's why I think, even though we won 4-0, it really should have been 8-0.
Yeah, I mean, I like Mkhitaryan. He's far, far better than that. He can get his head up, he can control the ball, and he can run a game as a number 10. But for some reason, he's not. And Mourinho's giving him, I mean, last season he wasn't. We were moaning about it. This season, he's playing him a lot. And he ain't grabbing the opportunity. He might just click. The thing about Mkhitaryan though is next month he could just be absolutely sensational, and it might just click. And maybe Mourinho's holding out for that. He's like, I'm giving him a run in the team, and eventually it's going to all click. It could happen. Hood Entertainment Channel says Martial and Rashford rotation will win you the league. Thanks for the contribution, pal. Yeah. And we're on 126,000 subscribers. Let's see if we can get 150. So we're 24 short. So if you've not subscribed, click that hologram in the bottom right hand corner and join the best community, because the live comments have been absolutely brilliant as per usual. Remember, we're live every night at 8 o'clock and you can be part of the show. Got a Skype show on Thursday as well. Mike Rollins keeps going on about Pulisic. If you've been watching my FIFA 18 career mode on That's Football as Everton, I've got Pulisic. He's brilliant, and he's brilliant in real life. I'd love him to come to United, but it ain't going to happen till at least next summer, and I bet we miss out on him even though he's a United fan. He's America's superstar. We get loads of support in America that we've not got at the moment, which we've got loads, but we'd have even more. But I bet he'll go to City. It'd be just bloody typical. Absolutely typical. Anyway, that is that. Was there anything else you wanted to talk about, Rodney?
No, I think we've covered everything. I think in terms of the game that I saw, I would say Ashley Young was fantastic. We talked about Matich, Rashford, glimpses of brilliance in the game, definitely. The only kind of small gripe I would say is Smalling. Sometimes I look at him and I think your positional sense isn't always great. He doesn't look natural on the ball. And I think once Bailey's fit and match ready in terms of his attention, I think Smalling will be back on the subs bench again.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I think it's Jones and Bailey at the moment as his, as his number two, as his first choice people.
Yeah.
Anyway, thanks Rodney for coming on. Give a shout out to your Twitter name.
It's at Rodney_Cyrus with a C.
Brilliant. And thanks everyone on the live comments. You've been fantastic as ever. If you're not watching live, you've been fantastic as well. Make sure to comment below. I've been, I actually over the last few days I have been replying more to comments, and I've been bad for a few months, but I have been replying a lot more because there's a lot of good chat that goes on not live with people who don't watch it live, and lots of good comments in the bottom. So I shall be replying to some of those later and tomorrow as well. So leave your comments. We've discussed a lot. Ozil to United, do you want him? Fellaini, should he get a new contract? When will Pogba be back? Mkhitaryan, who's the best finisher? Loads and loads and loads. So really enjoyed the show. Back again tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. Have a good day, have a good evening, and I'll speak to you all very soon. Thanks for watching. We're done, Rodney, I think.
Thank you, sir. It was good. It was nice. It's nice to be back.
Yeah, it was. I can't remember the last time you were on, actually.